That's where you are in the NFL when you don't have a quarterback, and that's where the
Yep.
Eagles are. If you want to be realistic about it and tell the truth, that's where the Eagles are. They don't have the answer here. It's not Gardner Minshew. They got to go find a quarterback. Now, how are you going to do that? That's Howie Roseman's real job.
Got McMullen and Jody McDonald, your Mac and Mac Birds 365 amigos. We're hanging with you on a Tuesday after another bad Eagle loss. We started the show by me getting John's itinerary down on his travel stuff. We're going to start the second segment in the same exact way because I got to know about yesterday. Early morning flight out of Vegas for you, but you're flying back across country with a stopover. And oh, by the way, you're losing time coming back to the East Coast. What time were you supposed to touch down back here in Philadelphia yesterday?
3:30-ish.
All right, so 3:30. Could you access your phone and computer on the way back?
Yes. Well, you can't do anything with important, but yes, I did have charging power on the way back.
So you knew what time Nick Ciriani was supposed to talk to the good folks of Philadelphia. Were you planning on getting there in time to be able to intake what Coach Ciriani had to say in his day after press conference?
Yeah, we knew that last week. It was scheduled to be 4:45. So I got in the door at my house at about 4 o'clock, a little bit after 4 o'clock. So yeah, I was right there. I was ready for Nick Sirianni.
And then
after a miserable day, but I was ready.
Miserable day. And oh, by the way, supposed to go at a specific time. Oh, it's pushed back. Oh, it's pushed back again. Oh, we're not quite ready. I'm sure Mrs. McMullen was happy with you.
Oh, speaking of, what
probably...
do they expect? She still doesn't understand. Like, I'm in control of Nick Sirianni. I can tell. Well, how long is this going to be? How long is this? It's just, and no matter how many times you explain it to them, it's not getting through at this point. I'm not in control. Control what you can control. I'm going to tape that and place it down on my kitchen table.
Good luck with that, playing that tape for the missus. That's going to go over real well, John. Anyway, Ciriani gets held up, and we find out after the fact the reason that they were running late was because Howie Roseman was making some roster moves, that they have reorganized the quarterback room, removing one veteran and bringing in a new guy and a young guy at that. So they have a developmental quarterback on the roster again, which I'm glad to hear. I'm not sure about the guy they got, but at least he's a developmental quarterback. But let's start with the veteran guy. Joe Flacco, when he signed, some people question, really? You had to give him that much guaranteed money? I was okay with it because, I know the Jets and know people around the team, and they said Flacco was a good dude. He accepted his role. He knew what he was supposed to do in the quarterback room. He wasn't one of those veteran guys who take an attitude of, hey, it's not my job to coach him up. The quarterback coach can coach him up. I'm here to just get my business done. No, he was a guy who was willing to work with everybody else in the room. So I thought that might be helpful for Jalen Hurts. So I was okay with what the Eagles spent and the fact that they made the move for Flacco. And remember, they had Flacco before they ever knew that Gardner Minshew was going to be available. So you got to keep it in the order that it happened. Well, they were able to turn around and flip him for the exact same thing that they paid in acquiring Gardner Minshew. Flacco wasn't going to do anything this year here anyway. It wasn't like he was riding to the rescue for the squad. So if you get anything in exchange for him, it's pretty darn good. I got no issues. If anything, I'll give Howie Roseman a thumbs up for the veteran removal yesterday. You see it the same way or different, John?
No, yeah. I mean, that's what Howie's good at. He's always going to get value out of trades and potential situations, at least on paper when you look at it. Now, ultimately, you talk about how players play and things like that. But as far as the value of where they are, the only problem I had with the original Joe Flacco was signing was it didn't make sense for this team at this time. 36-year-old backup. What do you need a 36-year-old backup for? It's turned out to be correct. Now the Eagles are saying, well, we think we have a chance and we think we could be in the mix. And by the way, they still could be in theory with the soft part of the back end of the schedule. And we know that it certainly looks like that last wild card is going to be right around 500. We'll see how that shakes out as things move forward as well. But so I didn't understand just because of the age, he's not going to be around here long term. Was a little bit expensive for a backup quarterback as far as what you could get if you want the younger routes. And they ultimately were able to get Gardner Minshew a little bit later. And as you mentioned, you spin it off and everything's fine. So no issues whatsoever. Perfectly understandable. Makes sense. The Jets need a backup quarterback, obviously, with Zach Wilson being out. And they know, even though it's a new coaching staff, the organization knows Joe. So it made sense from both sides. Obviously, Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman understand each other. So that probably made it a little bit easier. I do think it puts a little bit more pressure on both Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, though, because, look, if you're being honest, Gardner Minshew's, I don't know if he's a better quarterback. They're very similar quarterbacks in that their numbers are fine, but they both put up numbers in similar circumstances. They're always behind. They're always losing games. Gardner and Jacksonville, obviously. You look at Sunday's game as an example, Jody. That was ugly. In the guts of the game, Jalen Hurts was terrible. And then he put up some numbers late. And it looks better on the stat sheet at the end of the game. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. And Gardner Minshew used to do that in Jacksonville. But here's the problem. Nick Sirianni would rather run a different offense. And Gardner Minshew is probably more well-equipped to run the offense he wants to run. So I'm not one of those saying, oh, it's this step closer. They're going to go to Gardner Minshew. I don't think that's the case. However, if Jalen Hurts tweaks an ankle, if he's got to leave for a quarter, a half, I think this offense is going to look better.
How about he's got to leave for a play? Joe Flacco didn't even get in 7 games. He hasn't missed a play yet, Jalen Hurts.
And, everybody knew what Joe Flacco was and that he was only going to play if Jalen Hurts got hurt, and Jalen didn't get hurt. Or if the Eagles were blowing somebody out, which is very unlikely. He never got into a play. Now you have Gardner Minshew. If that same thing unfolds, maybe it doesn't. He hasn't gotten hurt yet. Maybe he doesn't get hurt. But if it does, I think you're going to see really quickly that would open up some things for Nick Sirianni. So it does put a little bit more pressure on the head coach and the quarterback.
All right, let's assume this is, my favorite, the McMahon favorite, the hypothetical. The Eagles, against the schedule that they have, are not in the playoff mix, but they're not mathematically eliminated. Let's give them 3 more. Let's make them 3-3 in their next 6 games. So that would get them to 5-8, which again doesn't have them in the playoff race, but doesn't have them mathematically eliminated. Hurts' play is exactly the same that it is. Do they go to Minshew then?
No.
Or are they going to ride the Hurts bus all the way until the season ends, no matter what?
Yeah, if they win some games like 3-3, like you're saying, they're just going to ride out Hurts to the end of the season. Look, bottom line is behind the scenes at the NovaCare complex, I think they know the answer at the quarterback position is not here, and that's Jalen Hurts or Gardner Minshew. So ultimately, it's going to be someone from somewhere else. Now, the problem is if you need a bridge for 2022 as well, because you might not be able to get the quarterback. for 2022 and might turn into 2023. And that's part of the problem you have when you don't have a great starting quarterback in this league. Watch last night's game, the difference between the Seattle Seahawks. That's torture. That's where you are in the NFL when you don't have a quarterback. And that's where the Eagles are. If you want to be realistic about it and tell the truth, that's where the Eagles are. They don't have the answer here. It's not Gardner Minshew. They got to go find a quarterback. Now, how are you going to do that? That's Howie Roseman's real job.
All right, I want to get to that. But before we jettison ahead, I got to ask about a present-day quarterback question. Are you telling me Reed Stennett is not that guy?
I am telling you, Reed Stennett is not that guy. It's interesting because they cut Rick Lovato to bring in.
Oh, shoot. I mean to ask you that. You understand these roster machinations better than anybody. I get it that they can do a handshake deal with him and say, listen, Rick, you're a free agent, but we don't expect you to go anywhere. We're going to re-sign you immediately thereafter. You won't lose any money. Why did they even have to do that? Was it the timing of the Flacco trade hadn't gone through first? Yeah. So they just had to create a roster spot to be able to claim Stennett? Exactly. I was perplexed by the way that they moved the pieces around the chessboard yesterday. Please give us the behind-the-scenes strategy the Eagles were using.
Yeah, if you claim a player off waivers, he's got to go on your 53-man roster immediately. Well, if you have 53 on your roster, you got to take somebody off it. Rick Lovato is a vested veteran. Doesn't have to go through waivers until after the trade deadline, so you have a couple more days. November 2nd. Doesn't have to go through waivers. You don't have to worry about anybody claiming him. He is a veteran, so you do the wink-wink deal. This has been, by the way, a loophole the NFL's got to close because a lot of teams have done that this year with long snappers. They have these guys around forever. They're not expensive. You just say, look, we need the roster spot. We're going to bring you back after the 24 hours. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And you do it that way instead of exposing somebody at the back end of your roster isn't a vested veteran to waivers, and you got to hope that nobody claims them. So it's just a way of getting through that little bit of hurdle. But yeah, it was just a timing thing. They needed the roster spot before they could consummate the Flacco deal. And then Rick Lovato will be brought back when that deal is official and rubber stamped by the NFL.
Okay, fair enough. Does Rick Lovato have to play along? Because if they're going to release him, he's released. And if he wants to, as a free agent, he can go anywhere else. He
can do whatever he wants. Yeah.
Right. Is there any inducement involved there? Talk about under the table, other than you're a loyal Eagle. We've been loyal to you. We expect you to be loyal to us. We're going to release you, and you're going to be a free agent for 24, 48 hours, whatever it is. I'm sure that you don't know, and no one's gotten on the record and told you, but I need some good John McMullen speculation. Does Rick Lovato get anything for going, yeah, sure, tell me I'm unemployed for 48 hours?
Well, you can't offer him money if that's what you're saying. Now, yeah.
What's he get? Free passes to restaurants?
There's
got to be something that he gets out of this.
In theory,
the undying gratefulness of Howie Roseman, doesn't he?
In theory, you can do whatever, it's sort of like the old recruiting techniques, I guess, in college basketball and college football. Wink, wink. Everything's wink, wink in the world. It comes down to you only do that type of thing with somebody who likes you, the organization, and someone that you like and trust. Because, yes, the minute they hand in those papers, if somebody else comes in and says, oh, we need a long snapper, Rick Lovato's a Pro Bowl long snapper, let's go get Rick Lovato. He could turn around and say, guess what? This team is giving me more money. They want me. They didn't try this hijinks. I'm going to go there. He could definitely do it. And that's why you only do it with people you trust and respect. And that generally goes both ways. And I expect it to go both ways this time.
All right. Today, tomorrow, when do the Eagles have to pick Mr. 53 and say, see ya? We got the roster. We need the roster spot to give back to Rick Lovato. How quickly is that decision going to be made?
I think that it'll wait till it goes through the league office. The trade. Remember, so Lovato it reached in. It takes Lovato's spot, so he's 53. Then Joe will move to the Jets. They're not getting a player back, so that opens up the roster spot, and Rick will go in that.
But they don't have to cut anybody. All right, I'm going to run something by you, John McMullen, that I just mentioned in passing here yesterday, and I went in more in depth on my WIP show last night, right before we went to break, or not. You said the Eagles still need to figure out who their quarterback of the future is. And with every passing game, it becomes less and less likely that it's going to be Jalen Hurts. You just told us you don't think they're going to go to Gardner Minshew unless there's an injury. So I would doubt very highly that they believe it's Gardner Minshew. Let me make a suggestion on a potential quarterback for the future for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't love this year's quarterback class. We're still a long way away from the NFL draft, so you got time for guys to pick up their game. The kid Kenny Pickett has been playing very well for Pittsburgh. He is increasing his draft status and his stock. He is 23 years old already. He's a fifth-year college quarterback, but he's having a hell of a year for Pitt. You know, I like Matt Corral, but is he a guy who deserves to be taken with a top 5 pick in the draft? I'm not sure about that. If Deshaun Watson isn't coming here, he's pretty much on record without being on record that he doesn't want to come here. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is coming here. I don't believe that Russell Wilson is going to be traded during this offseason. Well, who's going to be that guy for the Eagles then? If you don't like what's coming in the draft, the potential trade targets are either saying, I'm not going, or it makes too much sense to believe they're not coming. Let me give you a name. Should the Eagles investigate trading for Tua Tagovailoa?
You know, I got asked that by an SEC guy if I heard anything about the Eagles having any interest in Tua. I have not heard even an inkling of interest in Tua. Look, if you can get him at a discount, and I would think you'd be able to get him at a pretty significant discount at this point, especially if the Dolphins pulled the trigger and make the trade for Deshaun Watson.
Right.
There's not a ton of leverage from their standpoint. You've already seen Howie Roseman kind of take advantage of that organization. I would certainly entertain it. I'm not the biggest Tua fan. I know you like him as a player. I think he's shown some life, certainly over the past couple of weeks as he's gotten back from the rib injury. They keep losing. It's not necessarily his fault. Hey, compared to what's here, yeah, I mean, it's an upgrade. It's a significant upgrade. Is that the long-term answer? Probably not, but it's better than what you have. But to me, there's the bigger problem with something like that is you're declaring, all right, this is our guy. This is who we're going to try to build this team up around. I'm not sure the Eagles want to do that. I think they want to keep their avenues open to look for a better fit. That's just my personal assumption. He's unquestionably better than what they have, but I don't think that's what they want. They want somebody they like and that they want to be here for the long-term quarterback answer. And I don't think that's the player they want, but you can't always get the player you want.
Right. Here's my issue with that. You're talking about quarterback X.
Yeah.
You're talking about the unknown. Philosophy.
Yeah.
You're talking about someone who you can't identify by name.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to actually attach a name to a
I
quarterback. If
agree.
you're going to make him the starting quarterback of your team for the next decade. You can't give me that name right now. Tua Tagovailoa at least has a name. He is an individual you can point to and go, him. I think he's that good. I would do it. Here was the hypothetical I came up with. You tell me if you would do this, Eagles and or Dolphins. Because Tua hasn't been as good as you would hope a guy drafted number 5 in the draft would be. He's a year and change into his career. Hasn't wowed anybody, I think, because people are going to compare him to Herbert, who was taken 1 pick after him. That kind of skews the way people look at Tua. He has had injury issues. I think they had issues last year with the way that they handled him. I think the Dolphins personally handled him poorly with the whole bring Fitzpatrick in the middle of the game to save the game, go to your closer out of the bullpen. And I think they limited the things that Tua could do. You talk about Nick Sirianni trying to build an offense around Jalen Hurts and not having confidence and not throwing the ball over the middle because they don't like his accuracy. Oh, I think the Dolphins did that and then some last year with Tua Tagovailoa. But that's my scouting report on Tua. So here's where I think you could come up with a deal. If you're the Eagles, you don't have to give up a 1. He came in, he got hurt. His numbers weren't great last year. He comes in, he wins the first game of the season, then gets hurt again. He's now come back. They're still losing week after week after week, but it isn't necessarily the quarterback's fault. But here's the offer I think the Eagles could make, and maybe it would work. Basically, they just did the Joe Flacco to the Jets thing as a deal in reverse for Gardner Minshew. What they paid to get Gardner, they get back in the Joe Flacco deal. How about they make a very similar deal to the one that they made last year with Carson Wentz? Give the Dolphins a 2nd-round pick that can elevate to a 1st if Tua comes in and plays a fair numbers of stats. You can make it 75. You can make the exact same thing as the Carson Wentz trade. Next year in 2022, if Tua takes 75% of the starting snaps here, then the 2023 draft, it elevates from a 2nd-round pick to a 1st-round pick. If that's the price tag and you're the Eagles, would you do it?
Yeah, if I like the player. I mean, everything's about the valuation. I think, and by the way, I think that's something that would work from the Dolphins'
the Eagles get to keep their 3 first-round picks this year and rebuild their defense.
Now, again, we're talking about obviously a lot of dominoes have to fall. We have the Dolphins, number 1, they have to get Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, right.
But if that happens, and look, if the Eagles like the player, and that's why I said I have not heard an inkling. Normally by this point I would hear something. I've not heard an inkling of anything involving Tua or them potentially even kicking the tires on that. Now, maybe they've just hidden it really, really well. But typically things like that get out with the Eagles. So if you like the player, everything always comes down to evaluation. Yeah, I mean, that's a nice way to go find a quarterback you're probably not going to get in the draft. And that's why I said you might have to go bridge. You might have to go Gardner Minshew or Jalen Hurts again in 2020 next season, 2022, and then start looking in 2023. But you are right, Jody. At some point, you got to identify a name. But this is the problem you have in this league, and this is why teams get on this cycle, and this is why the Carson Wentz whole situation was such a debacle. They thought they had the answer, and they made some internal, and I don't want to re-legislate that because we've talked about that ad nauseum, but they made some mistakes and it ruined and it went the wrong way and it went south, and here you are. And now you see how difficult it is, and you start talking about getting reclamation projects because there's nobody in the draft. Always comes down to player evaluation. The bottom line to that is this team has not been really good in player evaluation over the past couple of seasons. And that's your concern. But it is interesting you bring it up because and this is somebody from Alabama. He's just bringing up. He's talking about Hurts versus Tua at Alabama, and a lot of the same problems Hurts is having here, he was having at Alabama. There was one season where, and this is the source from Alabama, roughly 45% of his throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage, and another 1/3 of his throws were from the numbers to the sidelines. That was Jalen Hurts at Alabama. Same issue here. Same issue here. Now, here's the interesting part. Late in 2017, among the wide receiver group, and that's the 4 first rounders. So Judy, Ruggs, Waddle, Devontae Smith told Nick Saban, look, Tua can get us the football. So it's better than Jalen Hurts. But the Eagles think he's a big-time NFL quarterback. I mean, all comes down to evaluation.
Right. They have to evaluate. I'm asking you your evaluation. I'm giving you my evaluation. I love the kid going into his junior year at at Alabama. Injuries curtailed the season. I thought he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, I'm not arguing that Joe Burrow should have been the number 1 pick in the draft. He damn well should have after the year that he had. I just didn't know that in September. By the time we got to January, I said, oh, shoot, Tua's not going to be the number 1 pick in the draft, Burrow is. So Tua ends up going number 5 because people had concerns with the hip, the injury he had, the fact that it ended his season. I still like the player. I still like the skill set. I still like the talent. And if, oh, by the way, the Eagles don't make a competitive offer for him, he could end up in Washington. That's the one team that's name has been out there with interest.
Oh, he'll get another chance. Yeah, he'll get another chance somewhere. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so difficult. Because if Washington, you look at it the other way. Let's say that happens. Well, if Washington evaluates wrong, they got a bad quarterback for another 3 years.
It's the same either way, but if Washington evaluates right, oh, by the way, you got to play him twice a year, every year for the next umpteen years. That could be a constant reminder.
That's why you better get it right. That's why you better get it right.
We try and get it right for you here on Birds 365. We'll continue to try. We got another hour of it. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, coming up about 20 minutes from now. The voice of the Eagles en Espanol, Ricky Ricardo, will join us. Stick around.